Hey, brother.
Hey man, how's it going?
Really, really good, man. Getting excited for our trip to Miami that's coming up.
Yeah, dude, I'm really excited about that. It was really cool to have that call that we just had before this. Kind of get to meet everyone and tell everyone what it's all about and what we're doing. And for those people listening, um, my friend and I, Ramez and I, we're putting together a really beautiful intentional event in Miami for Memorial Day weekend. It's something that has been on our hearts for a while, and yeah, we're just so excited for it. um, just bringing together select people and creating a really beautiful space for everyone to kind of like share their gifts and have beautiful music and just be together in a really beautiful way. And so, um, yeah, it feels good. And Dan's obviously going to be there with his wife Roxanne, and I'll be there with my beautiful wife Kat. And yeah, we kind of just got off a call, and here we are, man, ready to do another episode. And I'm really pumped about this one, man. And so after our last episode, you kind of brought up the idea for this one, and you started sharing some stuff, and I just got really pumped, and I was like, we should definitely do that for the next episode. And so I'll leave it with you, man. You want to share with everyone what we're going to be talking about today?
Absolutely, yeah. Selfishly, what kind of want to relive was such an incredible experience for me, and I'm pretty sure everyone involved. At least that's what I've heard from people. And some things came up, man. So you know, the concept of
What do we want to relive?
oh, whoa, sorry, my wedding. Yeah, we talked about it so much. I'm like, I forget I have to introduce it. So my wedding. So I got married in the Dominican Republic on the beach, and we had so many cool experiences leading up to the actual wedding because people were there for multiple days, and just the wedding itself, um, and yeah, I just what came up for me thinking about it, reflecting on it, is the amount of preparation that it took, but also the amount of faith we had, and there's just a balance there of preparation versus having faith. Um, and so yeah, I mean, so some lessons we learned. I mean, it's always going to be a little bit stressful leading up to it. We had a lot of things we were worried about. So Roxanne's family had never been out of the country before, and her mother is deathly afraid of flying. And months ago, they were considering not even coming to the wedding, which would have been pretty tough for Roxy, as you can imagine. But I mean, the time they had, the experiences they had were just incredible. Like the amount of positive feedback we got from them, they had the time of their lives. Um, I mean, you had some really cool conversations with a lot of them. I don't know if you want to share any of those, but
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was pretty amazing, man. So like obviously I didn't know much about them. I'd met a few of them, not all of them. I'd met her mom and her dad and one of her brothers and her brother's girlfriend at the at like the party you guys had at your house and stuff. And so it was really beautiful to meet them. And I didn't really know like, some of the stuff that was going on, and so my experience was really beautiful. Because I'm kind of coming in with no preconceived like thoughts or understandings of what's going on. And so it was just really cool to meet them and kind of hear their story and where they were coming from, and notice the shift from like day one to like by the time they were leaving, right? Like, and so Roxanne's mom, such a beautiful lady, but like I could tell like when we were first there, like wasn't very comfortable like in the first couple of days. And then dude, like wedding day, she was rocking, dude. You know what I mean? She was so happy and so joyful and dancing. And Rox was saying that like she never dances and she's just like cutting a rug, dude, on the dance floor, killing it. And like you said, like she doesn't do well flying. And then like at the end of the wedding, she turns around to Roxanne and is like, I want to come back here. I want to get back on a plane and come out here. Her brother was so beautiful, dude. Like, he got very emotional during the wedding, and I got to have a chat with him, and he was just talking about how beautiful it is to be here, and with all the people surrounding him, and I mean, just the whole family in general, like it seemed like they were in a way overwhelmed with love. Maybe like they weren't used to that type of like environment where everyone is just so loving and accepting and joyful, and it was just beautiful to be around them. You know, I had a really cool chat with her dad. Dude, like her dad, what an incredible human being. And the way like I thought that before I even knew him, right? So like her dad isn't her biological dad, but is her dad,
Hmm.
right? And, you know, for a man to be able to come into someone's life like that as a child and be the type of man that that child wants to call dad, above all, even more than her own dad, is just such like a beautiful thing, and just says a lot about who he is. And so, you know, during the wedding, I went up to him and I shared those thoughts with him, and I just like shared my appreciation for him because I love Roxanne so much, and it's just so beautiful to know that she has him, you know. um and so yeah, man, I mean, that's kind of like my experience with them, and it was great to see her brother just like bawling, crying, dude, you know, and it didn't seem like he'd done that many times before either. And he couldn't stop it, dude. The floodgates opened, and I know what that's like, you know, when you kind of get overcome with that much kind of love and joy, and it gets expressed in some way, normally the way that like you haven't been expressing things recently, you know. And so yeah, that was just so beautiful.
Yeah, and just to paint a picture, he's a massive human being, competitive lifter with the giant beard, and just to see a guy like that just weeping, it kind of hits you a little bit. It really does. But yeah, I mean, just when I reflect the amount of like synchronicities, like how everything just fell into place was like unreal. Like even I didn't even tell my brother we were gonna talk about this tonight, but at our workout today, he was like, he just randomly said like, it felt like someone was like orchestrating everything. Like, oh, this needs to go here, this needs to go here, and that's really what it felt like for us too. I mean, it couldn't have gone more smooth. I mean, um, and when you kind of get out of the way and when you get out of your own way and start listening to the universe, I think really cool things happen. I mean, um, we were blessed to attend a wedding at the same venue about a year and a half ago. When we were looking at venues, we knew we wanted to get married in the DR. We just happened to be invited to a wedding in the DR, and we did tour a few other venues, but I mean, just how it just kind of fell into place, and the fact that we had already been there and we knew the layout, and my family had been there too. It put a lot of things kind of at ease for us. We knew it was a beautiful place. We knew it had pretty much everything you could ever want. um, but yeah, just kind of listening to the universe, I think uh, it makes things go so much smoother. Get out of your own way and stop trying to control everything.
What
uh,
ways did you like listen to the universe?
Well, just the fact that we were invited to a wedding there, and we decided to have our wedding there, right?
Mhm.
And then, I mean, there's so many other things that I'll talk about maybe a little bit later on with our honeymoon, but I kind of want to get through some of the cool synchronicities that happened, like at the wedding itself. But the weather, number one. I mean, uh, do you remember how what was going on with the weather? Like, and we are supposed to get married outdoors on the beach, right? And in the morning it starts raining, or even in the afternoon, even like an hour before the ceremony, it was coming down a bit. And so obviously, you get a little bit nervous about that, but perfect timing. The weather stopped, the rain stops, and it stays cloudy, and it cooled everything off really nicely, which otherwise probably could have been pretty uncomfortable. We got through the ceremony, finished the ceremony, and we're having cocktail hour, and our photographer comes and grabs us, and he's like, "Hey, no, you have to come now. You have to come now." And there was like this insane double rainbow that came out, and so we did photos with the rainbow, and I mean, dude, like you can't write it better than that. So I thought that was pretty sweet.
I
Uh,
remember when like when we just got done with the ceremony,
yeah,
and someone was like, dude, like, did you realize like there was a rainbow behind you guys like most of the ceremony? I was like, no, dude, I did not. It's unreal, man.
wild.
Yeah.
And then the rain started back up during the reception, which was cool because some people went out and danced in the rain and had like a really beautiful moment there. And then we were able to, which was something that we always wanted to do. We all jumped in the ocean after the reception, which was sick memory. Like that
So
was like
cool,
so
dude.
much fun.
So
Yeah.
cool. I'll never forget, dude. Like as like we're in the water and I was talking to someone, and then I turn around and you're standing in the water with like Roxanne like in your arms, dude. You know what I mean? Just like laid out, and then all of our friends around us in the fucking ocean, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, it doesn't get better than this, man. You know?
Yeah, Roxy in her wedding dress, full wedding dress in the ocean. That was pretty special moment, and got some cool photos from it too. Um, but yeah, and then the whole thing with the coordinator as well, our wedding coordinator. So we met with a wedding coordinator multiple times, um, and we're thinking it's all buttoned up, ready to go. And then, what was it, 3 hours before the ceremony, 4 hours before the ceremony, we get a text saying, like, from that coordinator saying, I broke my arm. I have to go to the hospital. I won't be at the wedding. And so you can imagine, the thoughts that are going through my head, and especially Roxy, the thoughts that are going through her head. Um, but the coordinator that stepped up, because there's a team, a whole wedding team at the resort, and the coordinator that stepped up was just unbelievable. I mean, she came up to Kat, your wife, and Olivia, who were the bridesmaids, and she said something like, "I'm going to be your best friend today," and kind of took a lot of the stress off. And there were some things that we had planned that she kind of made some tweaks, and it was better than we could have even planned it. So like the whole fireworks going off, like and at the peak, at the climax of our dance, that was like a really special moment. We still go back and watch that, and the fireworks were supposed to go off when we entered the reception, and that would have been fine, but to have them go off like on the lift when we were doing our first dance was a very special moment. We keep going back to that video, and it's like unreal. Can't plan it out better.
Dude,
Um,
two things from my point. So like I wake up in the morning and Kat was the first one to get the message about the coordinator, right? Because like she'd went down there, and so like they kind of thought she was in charge, which in a way she kind of was. And so they message her first. And so Kat tells me, she's like, "Oh my God." And she tells me, I was like, "I think that's great, dude, because she was shit anyway, right?" And Kat was like, "That's not the point, Ben." I was like, "Well, I mean, she was pretty bad. And so like we didn't really want her around. Like her energy wasn't that cool anyway." It's like, it's gonna be great, dude. Trust me. And then we get this other chick who's just a beast, man, who just killed it. And I was really pumped about that. I was very happy about that. And then I was making jokes all day, like, you know what, man, like this broken arm was like the best thing for the wedding. It was great.
yeah,
And then dude, like obviously you were dancing when all of that was happening. So your perspective was great,
yeah,
but different from ours, right? And so like you guys start dancing, we're watching you dance, and then it was like the most epic divine timing. Like you lift Roxanne up into the air, and then right behind you, this little like firework kind of like sparkler thing goes off. And Roxanne like puts her head back and is just like laughing while she's in your arms. And then I look to my right, and your sister just like can't handle it, dude. She just like starts crying straight away. She's like, "Oh God damn it!" I can't just losing it. Everyone started crying, man. It was like one of those climax moments where it kind of just hit this peak, and like no one could handle it. It's just like, oh my God, this is way too cool, way too beautiful, way too loving. But yeah, I just want to share that.
no, absolutely. And I also wanted you to share your experience of leading everyone into their hearts during the ceremony. Like, I mean, from my perspective, like I think that was played a huge role in how everybody just had the best time, and how much, I mean, I got nothing but positive feedback, and people came up to me after, it was like, good job choosing Ben to be your officiant. So but yeah, I mean, I thought that was powerful. You could feel it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like this is the fourth time I've officiated weddings, and like anything, it continues to evolve. And one of the beautiful things I love about it is like, people are asking me because they trust me, right? And I love that, and I'm very humbled by that and grateful for that. At the same time, I take it super seriously. And at the same time, I'm like, all right, well, if they're trusting me, then I'm gonna do my thing. You know what I mean? Like, and so I do my thing, and it's very different, I would say, to like a lot of the way other people would do like a wedding. But one of the like, there's a few things that are really important to me. One of the things is what you said, right? So like, to kind of paint a picture for people. So what's really important to me when I'm officiating is to very quickly make the audience and the guests realize how important they are for being here, right? And make them a part of this celebration instead of them just sitting back and being like, oh, like, I'm not a part of this at all. This isn't about me. It's like, well, obviously, you're not the one getting married, but you're very important to this, dude. Right. And
Mhm.
so making them realize that, and not only making them realize that, but creating space to connect everybody, right? Connect the guests to the people getting married, right? Which is obviously you and Rox. And so one of the ways I do that is guiding everyone into their hearts. And so I first guide Dan and Roxanne into their hearts and have them put one hand on their heart and the other hand on their partner's heart, and just guide them into their hearts and allow them to create an open heart, a receiving heart. And then I switch to the guests and guide them into their hearts, right? Allow them to connect to their hearts. And while they're in their hearts, allow them to connect to Dan and Roxanne through different like questions and different like prompts, right? So like, one of the things I said was like, as you feel into the gratitude and appreciation that you have for Dan and Roxanne and the role that they've played in your lives. And by like giving these prompts while they're in their heart, they're able to like have these visions, and these visions are connected to feelings and memories and all these beautiful things, right? And so what happens is you're creating this like this energy field, dude. Everyone's in this energy of love. Everyone's hearts are in the same frequency, and everyone is next to each other. And knowing that your heart's electromagnetic field extends like 3 feet around your whole body and everyone's sitting together, everyone is literally just connecting their hearts together. And we're creating this epic magnetic field just surrounding the whole wedding, dude. Right. And the cool part about this whole thing as well is while I'm doing this, I'm the only one with my eyes open. And so I can see everything that's happening, dude. And I see similar things in most weddings when I do this. Like at first, a lot of people drop straight in. Other people don't really know what to do. They've never really done this before. They're kind of cautious. They're kind of a little bit fearful. They just, they're just figuring out, do I do this? Do I not do this? Is everyone else doing this? Right. But what I realize is by the end of it, everyone's just in love, dude. You know what I mean? In love. And it also gives you guys, the people getting married, a time to just like take a break because you've just gone like you stand up there and it's very surreal, bro. Like I'm sure you can talk to this in a second, but like you get up there and like if there's not a time to center yourself, you can very quickly go through the whole wedding and hear nothing whatsoever, right? Um, and so it was beautiful, man. It was really nice to do that. And then I guess one more thing I'll bring up that I really find is important is to like honor the parents.
Mhm.
And so we did that as well, right? So like I called your parents up and I called Roxanne's parents up and have them hold your hands and honor them and help them realize how important they are to this day. And without them, you guys aren't here. And so, it's really beautiful to hear, what you have to say and how you feel about how I officiated your wedding and how much impact that had on the rest of the day. Because I mean, I come from a place where it's like I know how powerful this stuff is, but at the same time, don't know, how everyone's going to take it. And so I'm just having a lot of faith and a lot of trust in myself. Um, and let's just kind of see how it goes. But I was overwhelmed, bro. Let's just say that I was overwhelmed with how much love I got and what people told me and what they were able to feel into and think about and how that affected them. And I think it's safe to say it's a success when everyone's crying and having a good time during the wedding, right? And so, yeah, it was fantastic, man.
Yeah, yeah. I had a really cool moment with just locking eyes with my father when we were honoring them, and we were speaking about that, and I just a very clear moment where I remember, and I keep going back to that, just looking into my father's eyes. I thought that was a very, very sweet moment. Um, I also wanted to, oh yeah, speaking of my father, he was the MC for the wedding, and he crushed it, dude. He
Crushed it.
did such a good job. Namely, and I don't think we mentioned this yet, but it was also Roxanne's mom's birthday, and we got married on Roxanne's mom's birthday. So that'll be interesting, seeing if we're gonna celebrate our anniversary or her birthday. No, I'm just kidding, but
Both.
yeah, exactly. But no, so my dad offered to sing her like it's not like a happy birthday. It is a happy birthday song, but it's not happy birthday, not the standard one. It's a Mexican version that somehow he knew. I mean, obviously he is a Spanish speaker. He was born in the Dominican, but he knew this song. And dude, that moment was insane. I mean, he had Rosa stand up, and Rosa was standing up, and it was definitely one of the favorite moments for a lot of people. Like even some of my friends like brought it up after the fact. When we were just hanging out yesterday, brought it up because she's up there standing and she's like, in tears, and just a really powerful moment for her. And I think she felt really honored, and yeah, she loved that for sure.
It was so special, dude. It was so special. As someone watching it who had no idea that was coming, it was so special, so thoughtful, dude, on your dad's part. And then to sing it, you know what I mean, as well. I mean, just takes it over the top, man. And he's got such a beautiful voice as well. I mean, it's just so amazing. And I had no idea that your dad was going to be the MC. And when you told me that, I was just like, dude, what a cool idea, man. You know what I mean? Like, what a beautiful idea. And there were just so many unique things that day that I hadn't experienced, and I don't think anyone had experienced. And all of them just hit the spot.
Yeah. And I mean, even into the planning, it was just like, oh, well, this kind of makes sense. And I asked my dad, and he was just like, oh, absolutely. Like, he was just into it right away. And that was a really special moment for us to share, me and him. And I still don't think I've fully shown my gratitude for that to him. So I'll need to do that.
For sure.
Obviously at the night of the wedding, I said a million thanks, but I really need to sit down and have a conversation with him. Another thing I wanted to bring up was Katie. So Katie is my cousin. She's a year older than me, and fortunately, unfortunately, there was some complications at birth for her. So she's not fully. She doesn't have Down syndrome, so it's not the classic Down syndrome, but for someone that doesn't know, she kind of seems that way. But she is just, you know, just she is the definition of love in a human being, and she, in the love she received and the love she showed everybody. I mean, it was really special to see like my friends like dancing with her and giving her hugs and taking photos with her, and she was just pumped the whole time. And I mean, you've met Katie a couple times, but it's always special being around her.
She is the best reminder in a human body of like how we should be, how we should love, how special every moment is. I mean, it's hard to explain in words, dude, just how beautiful she is and how amazing it is to be around her. And you have no choice, dude. Like, if you're around her, you have no choice but to be happy, loving, be reminded of how beautiful you are, be complimented again and again and again. And that just makes you want to do the same thing back to her and everyone else. It's amazing.
So special. Yeah, I hope everyone gets a chance to meet somebody like Katie and spend some time around someone like Katie. Um, but yeah, I mean, and going back to the synchronicities, I mean, just obviously us wanting to always having that vision of jumping in the ocean was super special, and then like going back we went to the lounge, the Chia Lounge, which is the club, and the music was a bit loud, and so we were like, you know what, let's just go back to our room, and we were going pretty hard, we were partying, we were up late, and I mean the room sir, I thought for sure someone was gonna complain or whatever. I'm sure they have notes of this is the wedding, this is the wedding couple, the couple that's getting married, but I mean no one bothered us. They kept bringing us room service. Room service came 3 or 4 times, and I mean everything was just pretty much perfect, and that sort of led into our experience after. A few of us, there's 14 of us actually that went to an Airbnb for a couple nights. Ben and his wife included, and a couple of our really close friends. And again, I think just that since we were all vibrating on that frequency, I think all those synchronicities kind of kept on happening. I mean, we were only supposed to have 10 people in the Airbnb. I mean, they sent me a message saying that specifically. They said, just remember maximum 10 guests in the Airbnb. And so I was like pretty nervous about that. And it was not a problem. I mean, we showed up with 14, and I mean, we had a live-in maid, caretaker, cook, whatever you want to call her, and she was phenomenal. You and Vince stepped up to go to the grocery store, and she cooked for us a couple nights, and cleaned, and just how everything worked out. The golf cart that was there, and she's like, "Let me check with the owner if you can use it." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you can use it." And
Dude,
so
and there was enough beds for everyone. So I don't know what they were talking about, like 10 people. There was enough beds for everyone, dude. It was perfect.
it was enough to make me nervous, but yeah, no, it just everything worked out so perfectly, and then that ran over into our honeymoon, and so like everything that happened smoothly at the Airbnb, kind of went into our honeymoon with like we went to go pick up the rental car, and we weren't supposed to be able to pick it up right then, and they were like, "Oh well, we'll let you do it anyway." um, Joey left his iPad at the Airbnb, so we were able to run back and pick it up for him and drop it back off at the airport. We went to drive to our destination where we were going to have our honeymoon stay for a few days, and we go to the first toll booth, and I had no Dominican pesos on me, and that's all they accept. And so she's like, "I don't know what you're gonna do," and she was like looking around, and this guy was like, "Oh, well, I'll give him change. I'll trade him for a 20." And so it just like worked out perfectly, of course. Um, Anything you want to add about the Airbnb or anything like that?
I mean, not really about the Airbnb. I mean, dude, we just had such a great time. I mean, when I was at the Airbnb, I was reminded of so many things. Just how like when I grew up with my brother, like we would create games together and just like have the most fun creating like just games, right? Like out of nothing. They're not well-known games. It was just like we had a ball, we had this. It's like we just created this game. We just made up rules on the spot, right? And we would just do it all day. And we did that like both nights. We came up with like 3 or 4 different games, dude, and we are just playing. And it just kind of reminded me of that. It took me back to my childhood, and it was so much fun. Everyone was just, dude, when you're around people that there is no worries, everything flows, everyone just like is cool with whatever's going on. It's just one of the most beautiful things ever. You know what I mean? And one of the things that's coming up for me as you're talking, um, but as I'm saying this, it may be a question for later, but it's like, what are some of the things that like you probably already learned or you probably already knew, but kind of like were even more solidified and perhaps you embodied even more, like based off this experience that you had at your wedding?
Yeah, definitely the idea of pronoia. I mean, that's something that Roxy and I talked about a lot about, and it was a word that I really didn't know, but basically, the opposite of paranoia, where everything is conspiring to work for you, for your benefit. And I think it's obviously it's you can feel into that, you can choose to believe that, but the way we were the frequency we were vibrating on, it was super easy. And yeah, just one thing after another just like fell into place. Going back to our honeymoon, we show up at our hotel, and then the first morning we're having breakfast. We knew we wanted to do this hike, this excursion that was like you're on horseback, and it's taking you to this epic waterfall. And we're having breakfast the first day we're there, and this guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, do you guys want to go to this waterfall?" And so we're like, "Yeah, actually we do." And so just how that happened. Um, and then again, so like the one negative, I kind of want to touch on this a little bit, but the one sort of negative experience was during that hike, or during that, when you're on the horses, you have a guide, and they're some young men. I think they were like 28 and 21, and they work completely off tips. And so he gave me the whole spiel about how, like, yeah, we don't get to do this very often, maybe only a couple times a week, and we don't get paid anything by the company. And so I was like, all right, I'll give him a good tips. And in my mind, a good tip was like 17, $18. And so he asked, it came time to give him the tip, and I gave him each the 17, $18. And then they were like, kind of like asked for some more. And I was like, tugging on my heartstrings a bit. And I was like, all right, fine, and I did it. And I started kind of feeling bad about that for a little while. Like I had like, oh, they got me, or like I shouldn't have given them the second round. And, but the more I thought about it, and the more I reflected, it's like, but how cool it is to be able to do that. And it's like those guys, that probably is, a huge day for them. You know what I mean? Those guys that are living in rural, Dominican Republic, and just to, to flip that from kind of the negative feeling, whatever that feeling was, to like feelings of gratitude, and like gratitude to be able to be in a position to do that for them. And again, it was probably, not, I won't say life changing, but it was probably just a great day for him.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think this is something that everyone can relate to, right? Especially with the culture in America where like tipping is a thing, right? And in America, it's like been standardized, right? Like, oh, 20%. 20%'s good. And so, I can feel good about the fact knowing I give 20%. But I think like a lot of people have felt into this, right? Whether it's like, should I tip in this situation? How much should I tip in this situation? Is that enough that I gave? And, I can just share from my experience, like coming from a country where that really wasn't a thing, like you weren't expected to tip. You would tip if they did a really good job or whatever it is. But ultimately more than that, like what I feel into when you're sharing your story is like the idea of like something that I continue to feel into and do my best to feel into is just realize that, man, if I was this person, what would I want? You know what I mean? And like, how would that feel for me? And realize that by doing that and giving that, I'm also receiving at the same time, and I'm also getting those feelings. I know what you mean, the feeling of like, man, I just got duped. I've been to a few different countries, and you just have people kind of um, like begging in a way, and saying like, oh, or not even begging. It's like when you barter with someone, right? And they're like, 15, like, no, 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 this is 20, and I mean, you have no idea how much it's worth, bro. Like, it could be worth $5, dude. And they're like, no, it's 20. And you have no idea, man. But ultimately, it's just like, who cares, bro? Who gives a fuck, right? It's like, what feels good for me? Does it feel good to give? And ultimately, I mean, why not? Right? Like you said, like you have the ability to do so, right? And and so I'm glad, man. I'm really glad that you had that experience. Like you said, um, there's a reason that you had that experience, just like there's a reason you had every other experience at your wedding. And there's a lot for you there, right? And so I'm glad you had that experience and you're able to flip it and take something that didn't feel good and then feel like immense gratitude for it. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, man. And then the rest of the trip was, we just kind of went back to more synchronicities. I mean, we went to or Roxy, really one of her goals on the honeymoon was wanting to surf. But we really didn't plan for that. We didn't, we there's not a lot of surfing in that area. I guess there's only one area in the whole island where there's surfing's like really, really big. Um, but my dad suggested that we go check out this beach, and it was a like a much more I guess quiet beach. There's not as much traffic, no vendors, nothing like that. It hasn't even really been fully developed. Really want it to stay that way, but we'll see what happens. But we come up on this beach, and there's just a little tiny surf shack there with a guy renting out surfboards, and it's like the one spot on the whole beach where there's some like decent waves. And so we talked to the guy, and I mean the rates were incredibly reasonable, and he even had like a female assistant, and Roxy was pretty pumped about that. It's sometimes females are a little more comfortable with females, especially when they're learning something new and wearing a bikini and whatnot. Um, so it was just crazy how that just again just fell right into place. We just went to this beach that my dad recommended, and there's a little surf shack just right there. So that was a really cool experience. And then to top everything off, we're leaving, and I feel like the universe sent us this guide for our drive home, because we had to make up a little bit of time. And this dude was driving like, it's not like a standard 18 wheeler, but it was like a semi in the Dominican. So they don't really have the 18 wheelers there, but it's like a truck with like this huge trailer. And this dude was moving. And so I was just, I had to keep up with him, and we were in a little, hatchback. And he was just, I followed him for 3 hours, and he helped us make amazing time. He was passing people, but, obviously you can't be super aggressive when you're driving a vehicle of that size. But I just felt like, we were sent a guide, and he, again, 3 out of the 4 hours, we followed that guy. So that was just to top everything off. And we made it back, right on time to drop off the rental without any extra fees. And, yeah, again, just the amount of cash that we had for the trip was the exact amount that we needed. You know, we gave the last few Dominican pesos to the tip the guy at the bar in the airport. So it was
Wow.
just how everything fell into place was unbelievable.
Wow, dude. That's so cool and so insane. Dude, I remember receiving a video from you guys about a beach at nighttime and this dude was playing Rufus Du Sol and you guys were dancing and partying.
Yeah, that was
Insane,
another
man.
thing. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
just walking past this little beach club, and yeah, "Inner Bloom" by Rufus Du Sol was playing, and
I
just what a
mean,
tune! I mean, that just
yeah.
yeah, especially for for Roxy and I, and what a special song. And so it was just like, are you kidding me? Like, we went right in there and just listened to some sick music for an hour or whatever it was, and yeah, just an unbelievable time.
That's so cool, man. It's like, I mean, what comes up for me as you kind of share the stories is, just how it's really up to us, right? It's really up to us to choose how we receive circumstances. Um, and another way to kind of say it is like there are no circumstances, there's only our perspective, right? And we get to choose. And whether it's something that we find to be like very synchronistic and very joyful, or whether it's something that's super hard, we get to choose. Like, hey, like this is happening for me. And sometimes it's hard, right? Because like when everything goes the way you want it to, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, this is happening for me. But in the moment when it doesn't feel that way, like for example, like, oh, our wedding planner broke her arm. Now what? What I've found is like in that moment, it may not seem like a gift, but pretty soon you're going to realize the gift. Right. And so as you have more of those experiences, you start to realize how kind of like, I don't want to use the word stupid, but it's like how unserving it is to like worry. You're like, dude, like, why did I worry the whole time?
Mhm.
Right. Like, that made no sense. That didn't help anything.
Yeah.
And I remember like growing up, like when I was younger, how I used to think that was necessary. I used to think the worrying was necessary. If I didn't worry, then I wasn't going to do anything about it and I wasn't going to fix it and all this bullshit. And then I started to realize, like, actually, it doesn't allow me to do anything I would really want to do. It actually doesn't allow me to fix it, even if I can fix it. But most of the time you can't. And you just need to sit back, accept it, and let the good times roll, dude, and just like wait for the gift. And it's kind of like a game you can play with the universe. Like, oh, dude, I wonder what you're gonna give me now. You know what I mean? And just like get pumped about it. And so, that kind of is like what I hear and what I feel into about like all the stories you're telling. And, I'm just so joyful that you get to learn. When I say learn, I'm so joyful that you get to feel into again and embody more deeply all of these beautiful lessons on your wedding week, dude, and on your like honeymoon week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what a perfect fucking time to like receive all of those insane synchronicities that were very, very present and very just like available to be like, oh shit, I see this and I see this. Cause like sometimes you're not aware of it, right? Like something cool happens and you don't really see it or you don't really take it in. Um, and so like, dude, the fact that you can just sit here and just name one after the other and remember every single one of them kind of tells me just how like present you were during the entire time, right? And even if you weren't very present within the moment, you at least reflected back on it and were like, oh dude, how cool was this and how cool was that? And
Mhm.
so yeah, man, I mean that's what I hear and that's what I take from it. And I just get pumped hearing you share it because I can see like how beautiful it was for you to experience it.
Yeah, man, it really was. It really was. So, still riding that high and to more synchronicities, I guess.
Yeah, and so, what advice would you have for people or how would you like to close this out? Like what would you like to share with people? It doesn't have to be as specific as like, people that are getting married, but again, like, what would you like to share with people?
I mean, yeah, though. I mean, we've kind of said it again and again, but just the idea of just having faith. Like everything happens for a reason. And like you said, you may not always see it in the moment, but just have that trust, have that faith that you are always exactly where you need to be, and everything is happening exactly the way the way it's supposed to happen.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, brother, I am so like happy that you brought this up and that we did an episode on this because like it allows me to just like feel into it all over again. And we Kat and I continue to talk about it, not only to just like between ourselves, but to so many different people. And that is a memory that I will cherish for the rest of my life. And so thank you for making both of us, Kat and I, because Kat was obviously in the wedding party as well, right? She was one of the bridesmaids for Roxanne. And so thank you so much for making us a big part of your wedding, but more than that, just such a big part of your lives. And so we love you guys, dude. Thank you.
Love you too, man. Yeah, thanks for everything you guys did. It was very special.
All right. Well, see you next
Till
time.
next time.